Hey guys, Killer Off-Road Hobbies here, Gary on the mic. We're going to do my final thoughts and comparison video on these three, you know, cheap grade RCs. You can get all three of these from Banggood or GearBest. I'll have a link in the description below. And if you want to order anything from Banggood, if you don't mind clicking on the link, it'll actually help support the channel. So it doesn't cost you any more or anything like that. It's just kind of a way to help support the channel. So if you want like a Cheetah, a JLB, a Vika Bison, or any one of these three, go ahead and click on that link if you don't mind. Or not, you can just go there, but it will help support the channel. So let's get into this. So I did this little series. I know there's not a lot of videos on these guys here, but I'm going to tell you why. And I did this little series, like cheap RCs. Are they as fun as like higher grade RCs, and are they worth purchasing and everything? Well, we're going to get into all of that. So this is the HVX Dune Thunder, which is a 12 scale 4-wheel drive buggy, like Dune buggy. It comes with 6 LED lights. It's got a 390 size brushed motor, and it runs on 2S LiPo, like little tiny batteries. This thing came with a 540 size brushed motor. It came with a 2S pack also, and it's a 4-wheel drive, basically kind of like a Vatera Twin Hammers. It's almost the same thing. And then this thing is the WL Toys Wild Challenger Turbo. It's a 12 scale 2-wheel drive monster truck, and it comes with a 390 size brush motor as well, or maybe even 380. It's pretty small. Now, I'm going to go over my likes and dislikes about these trucks. I guess we'll just start with the Wild Challenger Turbo. Now, the thing I do like about this truck is it's cheap. It's actually really cheap. It comes with a spare body. It comes with a charger and 2 battery packs. It's got 2 nickel metal hydride 800 milliamp hour battery packs that it comes with. And like I said, it comes with 2 shells, a blue shell that's exactly like this, just blue. Now, this truck, being a 2-wheel drive monster truck, it like literally does not get traction at all. Like this is my 3rd set of tires on here. These tires actually have really good grip, and you still can't barely drive this thing. Even though it doesn't have a ton of power, it still, you can't like push the throttle. It just spins out. It probably would be funner on maybe like tarmac or something like that, something that's got a lot of traction to give this thing. But even then, I drove it on the street and it still spins out all the time. But yeah, the good things is I think it looks pretty cool, especially with these knobby tires. It's got a nice wide base. It's a relatively inexpensive RC, coming in at about, I think it's like $60 or $70. I actually got this one on a deal because the box was damaged, so I got this thing for $40. But they're readily available. They are hard to get parts for, and with these tires, the reason I say these do have good grip is because I actually let a beginner drive this that basically didn't know much about RC. He just knew, you pull the trigger or whatever. But he got stuck in some grass, and he was just getting on it, and the rear end caught, and it just stripped out the spider gears. And, this little thing, it comes with this metal gear right here, but these little tiny spider gears in here are plastic. Like, I don't know why you would do that, but it stripped all of those out. And it literally took about, I don't know, 8 to 10 weeks to fix this. And I'm telling you right now that these things are really hard to work on. It's not that it's like more complicated than hobby grade. It's just that everything's so small. The screws are tiny. Like everything's layered on top of each other, and it makes it really really hard to work on these things. And like I said, it's relatively hard to get parts for this thing. But it is, it is kind of an okay little monster truck if you just take it easy on it. Now we'll go to the Across. This is the WL Toys Across. Like I said, 540 size brushed motor. It has an all-in-one ESC, and that is where I had my problems. I looked up on their website and the specs for everything, and it says that the ESC is supposed to be splash resistant or splash proof. I let my wife drive this after I drove it for the first time. It's pretty slow, even though it had a 540 size motor. It didn't have much power. The top speed was pretty lacking, but all in all, it was kind of fun. 4-wheel drive. The stock tires were horrible, but I put these tires on it, and it did a little better. But I let my wife drive it. She kind of just splashed through a puddle, like just splashed through it, and it started tweaking out. And then I brought it home, and I discovered that the ESC was completely burnt out. Like it still smells and it's like 2 months later. Yeah, it still smells like it's all burnt up and everything. But the bad thing about this is if you want to keep all the stuff the same, like the servo, the servo has a special connector on it that just plugs into this guy. So you would have to get this same exact ESC, and it's the receiver also. So it's an all-in-one. And, I was kind of wanting to get a little more power out of it. But to get more power out of it, you have to change out this ESC, which means you have to change out everything. So I ended up having to buy another servo, an ESC, and I hooked it up to a transmitter I had. But I had to put the ESC, the transmitter, and everything in here. Luckily, I was able to find a pinion gear I had that actually matched the planetary gear it has in here, because it just has one about that big around planetary gear inside there, and there's no mesh adjustments or anything. It's basically, it is what it is. And another thing about this is it is hard to work on too. You have to pull everything off. All the hardware is Phillips head. It's all really really tiny screws, but that in itself is why I like this. I was actually able to put a 10th scale 540 size brushless system in this. So this thing is actually a lot better, and I modified the battery tray to fit a 2S LiPo, a bigger 2S LiPo with a higher C discharge, and I cut that big wonky thing off the back of here that hung down like that far with the spare tire and everything, because as you can see, it's still pretty bouncy, but it was much worse back then. But I would say now I really enjoy driving this truck. Now that I put some better tires on it, some soft tires, they're a little bit bigger too, gives it a little more clearance, it can crawl over things a little bit easier. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to hook up the LED lights, but I don't really care. I don't drive my RCs at night. But now, after I spent the initial $75 to buy this, and then I think I bought the brushless Ghoul RC, I think it's a 3700 kV brushless motor ESC combo. I think that was about $40. So I'm in this a little over $110, and it's not a bad RC at all. You just have to be careful with it, because that planetary gear, I don't want to strip that out, because it is a pain to take apart. Now, stock, the HBK Dune Thunder, this thing comes with a 390 size brushed motor, and it's 4-wheel drive. But out of these three, it definitely has the most power. Easily has the most power. Easily has the most speed. It's actually, out of these three, the stock form, it is the funnest to drive by far. But, but, with that power came some consequences, which comes in these output cups for the diffs. Now these output cups are plastic, right? And they tend to just, I haven't even fixed it yet, but they tend to just shear off right at the edge of the diff, as you can see. You know, the cup's still there, but it's sheared off. And that happened the first time I drove it. I had to find and order those, and they took about 8 weeks to get here. And then I put it in, I drove it for my second run, and boom, same thing happened. That diff cup just sheared off, and it kind of takes you out of commission. Now this thing does, like I said, it's fun. It's 4-wheel drive. It, you know, out of these three in the stock form, it came with the best tires. It came with the most power. You know, all of that stuff. But it has broken the most also. This thing, you know, the ESC got splashed. Other than that, even with the brushless system, I didn't break anything. This thing, I took it out several times. I let my daughter drive it, I let my wife drive it, and it was fine. And then I let a kid drive it, and he was the one that actually broke it. But this thing has just broken both times I've taken it out, and I just, you know, I wanted to get this video done. But, you know, all in all, I would say, and this was the most expensive at $100. So this was the cheapest, you know, this was $75, and this is $100. So it's the most expensive, but it's the most fun to drive. Now, would I purchase these again? I would say no. I personally wouldn't do it, because, you know, this being $100 and this being now in the form it's in over $110, you know, I would rather save 20, 30, 40 more dollars and just get something from Hobby King, like the Trooper or the Rattler, you know, or, you know, if you want to save up another $100, you can actually even get the Sabertooth. I mean, I've been pretty happy with the cars I've gotten from Hobby King. I haven't had a lot of problems with them. You know, the parts are there. They are kind of hard to get sometimes, but you can actually find them pretty easily. You know, like I'm saying, this is the funnest out of the box here. You can't really upgrade it for what it is because of the way the batteries work and all of that stuff. So it's pretty much, this is what it is. And then this thing is the upgradable one, you know, but you gotta, it takes a long time, and you got to get the right gear, you know, the right pinion on there. I think I'm running like a 15 or a 16 tooth, and that works good. The gear mesh isn't perfect, but it's right there. It's pretty good. And then this thing is, you know, you can't get traction. So would I buy these three again? I'm going to say no. I would just save up and get a little bit higher grade, a little bit better RC. Not to say these things aren't fun, not to say that these things aren't good for you or your children, or, you know, to have around for when a friend comes over, because the Dune Thunder is actually really fun to drive. I guess you just got to be really careful with it for those diff cups, and it is not easy to change those things. It's like a sandwich chassis, and you got to pull a ton of screws out so that you can open the rear end and pull it out from the back. And then, you know, all the screws and stuff are really, really tiny. So they're hard to work on. They're hard to get parts for. And, you know, for the money, I would rather just save up a little bit more and get that much better of an RC. But that's my thought on these cheaper grade RCs. Like, subscribe, thumbs up if you liked this video, thumbs down if you didn't. And stay tuned to Killer Off-Road Hobbies. We got a ton more coming at you. Check the description below. There'll be a link to my forum where we can go and talk and chat, post your pictures, and talk about your builds and everything. Killer Off-Road Hobbies. See you later, guys. Peace.